Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. Live from Austin, Texas, broadcasting worldwide, it's Alex Jones.
It's in the London Guardian. Want J.P. Morgan to crash, buy silver. The campaign to buy silver and force J.P. Morgan into bankruptcy could work because of the liabilities accrued by the short selling. And Keiser talks about what we did a month ago and then again 2 weeks ago here on the show, sending silver to $500 an ounce, that becoming the #1 search term, crash J.P. Morgan being in the top search terms. And now silver is reaching its all-time high today, and the availability of silver eagles at an all-time low, and the price of those hitting an all-time high in November, the availability drying up everywhere. Max Keiser, this is very exciting. What's happening?
Yeah, it sure is. Silver, since I was on your show 3 weeks ago, it's up 9%. So do you understand that? That means it's annualizing at a rate of return greater than 100%. And the people around the world realize that if everybody cooperates and does this, that everybody wins. Everybody will win. If everyone gets together and joins forces, buying silver, you're going to be destroying the biggest financial terrorist in the world. Imagine getting rid of the biggest financial terrorist in the world. I mean,
and by the way, we're not tooting our horns here, and who knows if they'll send a hit team after you for really pushing this out there, but we created the TSA stir. The media is even admitting that now. This is really other people's brainchild, but you saw the idea and rammed it out here, supercharging it, along with Zero Hedge and others. And now The Guardian and others are recognizing it. I don't want to say who called you because I want to wait till it comes out, but some of the biggest publications in the U.S. have contacted you about this and what we're doing. So it just shows the power of alternative media, and we're not tooting our horn. You're not tooting your horn when we point out that the power of the people out there. There are now thousands of videos talking about crash J.P. Morgan, buy silver. This thing is kind of scary. I mean, it's scary to have this type of power, Max.
Well, it was always there. The power was always there, but it didn't have a single point to focus on. When I've been on your show before, I've talked about the one-inch punch, where I've talked about how to focus all the energy. You've been saying, well, we should try to do multiple things at once, and I've always said, no, just try and do one thing and do it on scale, get the whole world to focus on one thing, and the economies of scale kick in, and you have success. And this thing is success. Within 3 weeks, we're having success. Think about the various campaigns out there that have been going on for years that are still struggling to get acceptance. Here, within 3 weeks, we're totally transforming the global economy. We're taking silver to new all-time highs. We're totally disrupting all of the bank's balance sheets, and we are now going to take back hundreds of billions of dollars that they stole by converting all the paper currency into silver. If you own any of the slave currencies, the dollar, the pound, the euro, the yen, if you own the slave coupons, the slave tickets, the slave currencies, you need to release yourself from bondage and cash it in for silver and be a free person. Be a free man. Own real money.
Well said, Max. Now, most of our listeners understand this more than even you or I, but we got a few minutes before break. In layman's terms, explain why they can normally fix markets, and they've been manipulating this one, but if the mass goes out and buys silver, there's no way Humpty Dumpty can put himself back together again. Sure.
The precious metals have always been the counterbalance to fiat money and paper money. And for the past 20 years, has been documented by groups like the Gold Antitrust Action Committee and the folks over at Zero Hedge, the main banks that are tied to the government, like J.P. Morgan, they go into the market and they continuously sell silver contracts naked, which means that they are selling contracts that do not exist. They're counterfeiting securities in order to create a lot of selling, in order to create a lot of downward pressure, in order to create an artificially low price. And they're able to do this because anytime they need to make good on a contract, the U.S. government just gives them an unlimited checkbook to keep writing bad checks. Now, what's happened is that over the past couple of years, the big money out there, like Eric Sprott up there Sprott Asset Management in Canada, realized that, hey, J.P. Morgan has $3.3 billion in these bad bets on their books. If we take physical delivery, it'll force them to go into the market to buy silver, and they go bankrupt, and we get rid of a major financial terrorist. Now, the only pushback to this is people say, well, you know, they can always settle for cash and they won't have that liability. But that's false, because if they settle for cash, where do they get that cash? They have to get it from the government to issue more debt, which only means that the purchasing power of everyone's fiat currency goes down, and the silver that they're holding, the purchasing power goes up. We've got them in a corner. If we all cooperate and buy silver, that $500 price is an achievable goal. Imagine everyone around the world who can put in 27, 20,
and then they won't be able to manipulate it anymore.
$500.
We got a break. We got a break, Max. Stay there. Liberty is on the rise. Hey, we're going to do 30 minutes, maybe even more of Overdrive. A lot of stations carry the fourth hour. We don't always do it live. But if your AM and FM isn't picking it up, you'll just go to Infowars.com or PrisonPlanet.com or PrisonPlanet.tv to watch the live streaming video, be able to hear Max Keiser into the next hour. We're going to open the phones up specifically and only for questions on the Hunt brothers and the cornering of the market and $50 silver in 1980. Why things are different today. Your questions for Max Keiser in the next 30 minutes of the next hour, specifically and only on this issue. Okay, folks? I want to hear from you. 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. Now, J.P. Morgan, hundreds of billions of dollars, trillions leveraged in derivatives. Now, explain to people in layman's terms, if they're 3.3, 3.6, whatever it is, short in the silver market, naked shorts in there driving it down with money and silver they don't have. Silver in the real market selling for $35 an ounce, a lot of shops, showing that even the $29 an ounce is a manipulation on paper. So more and more this is rearing its head. But specifically here, explain to people, as you said with cash, if it's only $3 billion in something, why don't they just go out and buy silver from somebody else to cover it and have a loss? Explain what you're saying.
Yeah, okay, first of all, look at J.P. Morgan. You have to look at the big picture here. They've got, on their balance sheet, $93 trillion in derivatives. Now, to put that in perspective, the total GDP for the world is about $50 trillion. So they have almost 2 times the entire output of the entire planet Earth on their books as derivatives or debt. And a lot of this debt is tied to a massive short position in silver. By some estimates, $1.5 trillion is exposed in liabilities to their silver shorts. And
so their silver short is the pin and the hand grenade.
Exactly. And their market capitalization of the company is about $150 billion. So they've got 10 times their entire market capitalization exposed just to their silver short position, which is part of a much bigger $93 trillion derivatives bomb. So, to pull the pin on the hand grenade, it takes the whole kit and caboodle down. J.P. Morgan stock goes to zero, and they're out of business, which we want because they are actively targeting the communities and these countries. Look at what's happening in Ireland, for example. The IMF is bankrupt. The IMF has no money. They go into Ireland to seize the $20 billion on Ireland's books, plus the pension assets of Ireland. Ireland's not bankrupt. They have cash to go for several years without a bailout. But the IMF is bankrupt.
Yeah, this is a financial takeover, and it's not gonna. I mean, if we did bring down J.P. Morgan, it doesn't mean that exploding battleship might not throw some shrapnel back at us, but it's better than just letting it line up and fire at us forever and not fight back.
Exactly right. It's all connected. They're all working with each other. They're all colluding with each other. If you take down the biggest guy, you take them all down, and you decapitalize them, you're removing that fiat currency, which is their ammunition.
So you're saying blow up the Death Star, and you're saying our X-Wings are in there right now. We've got a good chance of blowing it.
Yeah, the Death Star is a good analogy. I like it because if you remember Luke Skywalker, he's flying into the Death Star, and he has to hit the soft spot, that one spot in the Death Star that blows the whole thing up. In my analysis, if you look at the global banking system, the one soft spot in the entire banking system is J.P. Morgan's silver short position.
So it's the missing scales on the dragon's belly.
Yeah, if you attack that one spot, you blow up the whole Death Star. And right now, people understand this. They instinctively understand it.
All right, stay there. We got to come. We're back in 70 seconds. Folks, you may have to go to Infowars.com if your station doesn't carry it, Infowars.com. It is Thursday. Max Keiser is our guest. Websites are MaxKeiser.com, Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.tv. The ongoing TSA rout of the globalists is continuing. They've backed off on pilots, small children. Now they're talking about backing off, groping the rest of us. Undoubtedly, the feds will put a bomb on a plane and blow it up. But we're countering that offensive by exposing who's behind the terror attacks. Max Keiser's picked up on a grassroots movement a month ago or so to circuit the shorting of silver by J.P. Morgan, their naked shorting. That is now in the London Guardian. Silver's up 9% in the last month. The supply is dwindling. Even mainline analysts are saying this is the Achilles heel, the soft spot on the dragon's belly, the unshielded exhaust port on the Death Star, whatever you want to call it. It's the sweet spot. And I was talking to Max during the break. He was telling me this is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Look, the Hunt brothers were billionaires, but they had no power compared to millions of people going out and buying silver and taking physical possession. Please continue, Keiser.
Right, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a virtuous circle. If the more people participate in this, the higher the price goes, and the more people will therefore participate in this.
They can't take secret stores of silver and dump it to try to knock it down? Well, the answer is even if they did that, it would beach ball back up, correct?
Well, they can. The only thing they can use to knock it down is paper silver. But yet, at this point, all the new paper being generated is creating inflation. You see that right now. It's hitting in surges in
which drives up the silver again.
Exactly. So the more they try to attack it with paper silver, the higher the price of silver goes. We've got them in a corner.
Well, for the first time in some foreseeable memory, and I'm talking to coin shops, I'm talking to people on the ground, I'm talking to Ted and other brokers, I'm making phone calls about this in the last month, we see gold and silver versus what the public price is pulling away in the real world for what it sells and running out. That looks like we could be entering a zone where it really explodes in price.
Yeah, there's scarcity. There is silver scarcity, and anytime you introduce scarcity into a market, the price discovery mechanism kicks in at
supply and demand.
Price. That's a higher price.
So,
hello?
Yeah, no, I'm listening to you. So, where do you expect this to go in the near term?
Well, it just keeps going higher because you've got massive buyers and very little supply, and as we've said, the only way to stop it is by throwing more paper at it, but that only encourages people to buy more physical. So we've got them, by their short hairs. There's nothing they can do to defend themselves here. They can keep throwing paper at it. They can keep settling contracts with paper, but that paper is inflating the system and increasing the purchasing power of the existing silver. Now, $500 silver is a doable target. If this thing continues to go on a global scale, and I'm getting videos from all over the world, people are participating in this all over the world, so that $500 target is doable. That means that the bankers' fiat paper witch's castle has collapsed, and everyone is sitting there with real money to have a real economy and a real democracy with. As the Founding Fathers stated in the Constitution, there shall be no money recognized other than gold and silver. It's a constitutional mandate. The fact that there's fiat paper today is unconstitutional. The Founding Fathers figured this out 150, 200 years ago. They knew that if you let banks create fiat money, that they will use that fiat money to monopolize and enslave and to create all kinds of mergers and acquisitions that they're doing now. Exactly what is happening now is what they knew would happen, why they outlawed paper money. Only gold and silver was money. Now we've got a global insurrection against banking occupation. The global banking cartel is everywhere, and now this is a global effort to take back people's wealth by buying silver, by exchanging the slave currencies of the dollar, pound, euro, and yen and others for real money. You are freeing yourself. You are
all right,
free.
Max, stay there. Come back. Take phone calls. Chris, Ed, Julio, Tim, Mark, and many others. 800-25-9. 9231. These are interesting times we're living in. Stay with us.